You're listening to the Plain Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello, welcome and Happy New Year, and it's episode 198 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings, and joining me in the barn studio again this week, it's my co-host Matt Smith.
Hello, yes, welcome. It is Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
I know, 2018 already.
I know.
It's very scary, and I am so scared. I'm not even joking when I say that I'm scared. We are so close now to our 200th episode. We are what? It's like literally one weeks next week.
Yeah, and then
that's it. That's the 200th.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, we better start doing some preparation, I suppose.
Well, you can talk about all you like, Sarah, because myself and Nev have been chatting for ages trying to get this right, haven't we, Nev?
Oh,
yes,
and we've been a bit busy.
We have been a bit busy, yes.
No, it's in good shape, and we'll talk more about it a bit later on.
Yeah, we will, very exciting.
Yeah, so as you can hear and see there, it's the third awesome co-host of the show, Mr. Neville Bounds, and how are you this week?
Yeah, very well, sir. Sorry about the slightly formal appearance. I've only just got in from work. I would not normally wear a tie on the show, but I thought, well, I've got it on now. So
I feel a little underdressed.
A rather hectic day in the city of London this afternoon. I'm glad to be home, though, I have to say.
I was actually thinking earlier, Matt, when we first got Nev on Skype, that perhaps Nev had just got back from his trip with a certain two people who feature in one of the news stories on this week's show.
Oh, right. Has he been rubbing shoulders with the Royals again?
Yeah, I think Nev has had something to do there.
Yeah, she's popped into Windsor on the way home. Yes,
exactly. As you do. Yeah, clear up a few homeless people while we're there. Oh no, sorry. He says, choosing his words. Sorry. Anybody listening to this who lives in the UK
honestly,
will
Matt,
know what. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Start
the year with us being sued as quickly as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're going to say a big welcome then to everyone who has joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening.
Indeed.
Loads of names in there: Glenn Towler, Graham Haley, Jeff Braithwaite, Julian Garwood, Mash is in there. We've got Philip Davis, Richard King, Tony S, who apparently Tony S is suffering from a very, very bad bout of man flu.
No. Excuse me. Don't belittle man flu, you. Excuse me, man flu is fatal, I'll have you know.
It is fatal, yes. Hopefully our main man Micah, who's also in the chat room, hopefully Micah's healthy and not got the man flu.
No.
Oh, it would be main flu, I suppose, wouldn't it, for Micah?
Stop it.
Yeah. Main flu?
Oh, for goodness sake.
I went into the office this week and on Wednesday, which is our first day back, and honestly, it was like a doctor's surgery in there. There was people coughing and spluttering. I thought, I'm actually not going to stay here much longer because I don't want to, pick something up. But it was terrible, really awful. But so many people have had this nasty cold and flu business, and it's not just sort of a 10-day thing. It's been going on for a lot of people for sort of 4 or 5 weeks, and it can't be nice. And poor old Mrs. Nev has had it for the last 2 weeks as well.
Poor Mrs. Nev.
But it's her age probably. So,
Wow. Okay.
Mrs. Nev is now sitting downstairs, currently chopping up Nev's clothes.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely.
That's right. And is now hovering over the incoming main switch to the house.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. Yes. It's right. You're in luck though, because she doesn't listen to this drivel, so there is that.
Yeah. We've got an aloof guest in the chat room tonight.
Have we?
Pilot Pip is in the chat room.
Oh dear! Do shout if you want to join us.
Yeah, Pip, where have you been for the last 400 years?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's been a bit of a. I must admit, I've been very lucky because I am literally like Nev. I'm surrounded by. We have
computers?
Sort of. Well, no, not right now. Yes, I'm surrounded by computers right now. But we've got several people who work here in the barn.
Yes.
And it is, So Sarah, who owns the company, she's got it. Charlotte, who's my boss, has got it. The two girls who work in the packing department, they've got it.
God.
The two grandchildren who work here at the weekends.
And I'm here now.
Oh, I know, absolutely.
Surrounded by all these
diseases. Yes, absolutely. Very exciting.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, indeed, absolutely. I can't believe I haven't had it. I don't know. It must have been like, I don't know. Perhaps it's the same strain I caught when I was in Pittsburgh or something, and therefore I'm immune. But anyway, sorry. It's not the National Health Service here.
It is though, Matt. It is the 5th of January.
It is, yeah.
And it's 5 minutes past 7 in the evening here in the UK. We start at dead on time at 7 o'clock, which is fairly good. I know it's we're getting good at this now, Matt. Starting on
setting
time.
The precedent for the remainder of the year.
Scary.
Possibly.
So I hope you all had a really, really good Christmas and New Year's. I hope you all had a safe Christmas and New Year's and got all wonderful presents and stuff. Because as most of you will know who watched the Christmas extravaganza, we actually did have Santa Claus here in the studio with us.
In the studio,
disguised as Matt. Well,
how rude. Oh, dear.
Or is it Matt disguised as Santa? Oh, I don't know.
Anyway.
We have got a little bit of housework to sort out this evening with it's our usual monthly massive thank you to our Patreon donators. So
yes.
If you'd like to do the deeds, Nev, if you could please.
Yeah, and don't forget, your contributions are absolutely vital to the continuing output that we do, and we really do appreciate it. So, in no particular order, it is Adrian Meacham, Nick Anderson, Matt Caton, Captain Jeff, Stephanie Plummer, Stuart Black, Liz Piper, Jonathan Warner, Evan Shue, Adam Spink, Matt Donmeyer, Jeff Ward, Ben Todd, York Moeller, Philip Labe, Andrew Wilson, David Humphreys, Eric Graves, Jordan Rose, Steve Andress, Matthew Bunting Frame, Myla, Ryan Harper, Stuart Backer and Ray Williams. And the people that have donated through the regular PayPal system are Jennifer Parkinson, or Jenny in Rome, as we like to call her.
Absolutely.
And Tom Thomas. And thank you one and all for a superb contribution. It really doesn't matter how much or little you send us. It is all very gratefully received. And when we get our little sort of PayPal thing at the end of the month, I think it is, it says how much you've donated. It really puts a smile on all of our faces.
It does, very much so. Yeah, blown away by your generosity. And it really does help her. As I say, lots of big plans for it actually this year, as we were discussing during the show. But more about that later on in the year.
Yeah. Got good things coming up in 2018. Lots of exciting things.
Upgrades for the show.
Oh, so I suppose we ought to start our first show of the new year, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt.
I am indeed, yes.
And if you're ready, Nev.
Me too.
Let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story then, and this was actually sent in to us by email. I can't remember the name. Was it Niall? Was it someone who emailed us in? It came in tonight, actually.
I don't read the show notes. Why would I be looking at the email?
Well, this came in actually tonight, and actually, I'd actually got this labelled up as the first news story for the show this week.
Good.
But for those of you who watch the various news wires across the globe, will have probably heard that this week a couple of pilots had a bit of a punch-up, as such, or a minor... Oh, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for that, Matt.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Had a bit of a minor kerfuffle on the flight deck.
Kerfuffle.
So this one is on the ndtv.com website.
Right.
And the headline is, what if pilots got locked out? Aviation regulator fumes after jet row.
Oh, wow.
So on Monday this week, a Jet Airways flight from London to Mumbai, the captain apparently slapped the co-pilot, who rushed out of the cockpit in tears. According to the crew member's statement, the captain kept buzzing for the co-pilot after she walked out, quite rightly, fair enough, asking the crew to send her back inside the cockpit. So first it was Indigo, then Vistara, and now Jet Airways. 3 private players in the aviation industry have been hit by controversies in the last 2 months, which has led to the Civil Aviation Ministry to direct the Aviation Watchdog Director General of Civil Aviation, or the DGCA, to ensure discipline in the air and when among ground staff. So on Monday this week, on a Jet Airways flight, as I said, from London to Mumbai, the captain who slapped the co-pilot, who rushed out, Nev's laughing, according to the crew member's statement, and the pilot and the co-pilot are said to be in a relationship. Never good to have that on the flight deck.
No.
The DGCA says this is a clear violation of safety standard, which states that 2 persons should be inside the cockpit at all times. In this case, they were not. What if the autopilot would have got disengaged, or the door to the cockpit would have been jammed when the commander entered the PIN code at the door door cockpit, they said in the statement here. The Minister of State Civil Aviation, Jayant Sinha, told NDTV this incident is being inquired into by the DGCA. As per law, action would be taken against the staff of the airline. Sources in the ministry say that the DGCA has been asked to direct Jet Airways to get its act together. Yes. Pilots are supposed to be mentally alert whenever they operate a flight. That is why they rest for many hours is given to them. But in this case, both pilots were carrying mental baggage with them, and that's why this incident happened. A senior level officer of the ministry said, according to the officer of the aviation watchdog, who has asked Jet Airways to expedite its inquiry into this matter. Apparently everything is recorded on CCTV cameras of the cockpit and voice recorders, so it should not take long to investigate, he said. According to sources in Jet Airways, CCTV footage and voice recordings of the cockpit are being analysed to find out what led to the altercation. This was not the first time that security norms have been compromised in the air. Statistics from the Civil Aviation Ministry reveal that safety norms were compromised 431 times in 2016 and 375 times in 2017. It's not good, I suppose, really. I think that's the last thing you want to see when you're on board an aircraft, is to see the pilots having a scrap.
Don't think they've thought that through, really, have they? Let's be honest.
The only thing I would say against this is, husband and wife teams is not unusual when it comes to this sort of thing. I mean, it has happened before, hasn't it, where you've had like fathers and sons and so on who have done it. But surely, as a professional human being, you can just hold it together long enough to actually complete the fight, and then, fair enough, kick 7 bells out of each other in the terminal. Yeah. But surely your professionalism as a pilot would overrule your uncontrollable urge to punch someone in the face.
But I mean, if they're in a relationship, surely it must be incredibly hard. I mean, I could not imagine for 1 minute me and Gemma being on the flight deck together as pilots.
That's because she hates flying, Carlos.
Well, she doesn't hate flying. She hates flying with me because I'm such a geek. But,
yes, indeed.
No, I'd hate to kind of, sit on a flight deck for 9 hours with her.
Right. I've seen you backseat driving in your car, Carlos, when Gemma's been driving. So
anyway, moving
swiftly. Mrs. Yes.
Anyway, moving swiftly on to the next story.
Honestly, it was such a beautiful and happy relationship until we.
She doesn't watch the show. It's okay.
Oh, that's all right then. What a relief.
And if she does, I'll skip this bit.
Right. Okay. Will you? Yeah. Oh, please don't get that wrong. Anyway, next story. This is on the UK Business Insider website, and the story 2 means one thing and one thing only. It's a Ryanair story, and Ryanair is applying for a UK aviation licence to protect itself from hard Brexit. And I don't know really why this is big news, because surely this is a pretty obvious step forward for any airline who's operating out of the UK. But anyway, London is where the story is written, and the headline and it's basically Irish airline Ryanair is applying for a UK aviation licence, which would allow it to continue operating domestic flights in the UK regardless of whether or not aviation is included in any Brexit deal. So surely it's a no-brainer. It's a common sense thing to do. The budget airline confirmed that it has applied for a so-called UK air operator certificate from the Civil Aviation Authority. If successful, it would allow Ryanair to operate domestic flights, for example, routes between London and Glasgow, if the UK and EU fail to reach a Brexit agreement on aviation. The move is thought to be a precautionary measure, as the airline's UK domestic operation consists of just 3 routes. According to Sky News, which first reported the news, these routes account for less than 2% of total revenues. Ryanair today confirmed that a subsidiary company, Ryanair UK, filed an application on the 21st of December last for an AOC with the CAA in the UK. The airline said in a statement to Sky this may be required for Ryanair's 3 UK domestic routes in the event of a hard Brexit in March 2019. Ryanair is not the first non-UK airline to confirm an application for a UK AOC since the referendum. Wizz Air, which is headquartered in Hungary, did the same back in October. So Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary has been a staunch critic of Brexit and has frequently proffered? That's not a
Preferred?
word.
Yeah.
Proffered.
Yeah.
Proffered.
Yeah,
oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, and has frequently proffered dire warnings about what Britain's departure from the EU could mean for flying in Europe. In October 2017, he warned that the government was underestimating the risk of a serious disruption to flights once Britain leaves the EU. There remains a worrying risk of a serious disruption to UK/EU flights in April 2019, unless a timely UK/EU bilateral is agreed in advance of September 2018. We worry that the UK government continues to underestimate the likelihood of such a flight disruption to and from the UK. O'Leary said that the airline industry needs clarity on an UK-EU Brexit deal by the summer of 2018, as that is when airlines will publish their schedules for the year ahead. Time is running short for the UK to develop a bilateral solution, O'Leary warned. Britain's Chancellor Philip Hammond said last year that flights between the UK and the European Union could theoretically stop on the day Britain officially drops out of the bloc. Now, I think this is... I'm sure if Captain Al was sat here right now, he would say probably something along the lines of, this is literally scaremongering for the sake of scaremongering, isn't it? And
it is a true thing. They have got to apply for this licence.
No, I get that.
So it's not not like a fake story, but it's
not a non-story.
They're covering
they're covering themselves, and that's a very sensible thing to do. But I mean, well, I don't know. I will be astounded. In fact, I would go so far as to say I will eat your hat if there isn't something in place before we leave. Because, I mean...
When are we going to leave this blinking thingy anyway?
Sometime in 2019.
March 2019.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. Although there is talk of, a sort of like a further 18 months or something, isn't there? Like,
really?
Where they're, as a sort of transitional period, if you like. But anyway, it's the first show of the year and we're already talking about Brexit.
Oh,
so
God. It didn't take long, did it?
Yeah.
Pip's already turned off.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Anyway, so moving swiftly on from the Brexit story onto a story which, obviously, as I said at the top of the show, I chose because obviously with Nev's attire that he has on this evening, I'm fairly confident that Nev has actually come from this this actual story here, which he's now going to read.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Well, they are my neighbours, more or less. Well, actually, no, they're about 30 miles down the road, so it's a bit further than that. But this is on the dailystar.co.uk, and of course, I get all my professional aviation news
quite right,
from
absolutely, from the Daily Star. Why did you read the Daily Star again, Carlos? Is there something that you need to tell us? We're opening a confessional at the start of the year.
Excuse me, I googled BA stories, news stories, and this one came.
Was that a typo that you put into the keyboard wrong?
No.
Yeah. There we are. Well, this is all about Harry and Meghan Markle, and they've been spotted on a British Airways flight in economy seats next to the toilets. And it says that they left plane passengers stunned when they boarded their British Airways flights and sat in economy next to the toilets. The royal couple were reportedly spotted on a London Heathrow flight to the French Riviera on Sunday for a romantic New Year break. And what's caused just a bigger stir is where they sat, as they were said to have snubbed first class for economy seats. Point of order there is no first class service from London Heathrow to Nice on British Airways. There's only business class or economy class. Okay, just thought I'd put it out there.
Yeah, no, fair enough, of course. Yes.
They even sat at the back next to the toilets as they took to the skies on the scheduled 9:55 a.m. BA flight for Nice. And Harry was seen slumped at a window seat whilst bride-to-be Meghan was sitting next to him in a black beanie hat and little makeup. Sources say that the engaged couple went to desperate measures to go unnoticed from fellow passengers. They were said to have boarded the flight before any other passengers and took up 3 rows of economy seats on both sides of the aisle. And there's now a picture of a twin aisle aircraft, which is either a 767, 777 or 787, which does not operate between London Heathrow and Nice.
And again, I would show you the picture that Nev is talking about. Unfortunately, there's a sort of naked picture of Kim Kardashian to the right of it. So I'm afraid I'm unable to share that with you.
X-rated stuff.
Yeah, indeed, absolutely. So
I'm guessing these guys obviously didn't go on Seat Guru.
Right.
And, find the
I think
best
their location was changed.
So just for point of order, the British Airways services is either on a A320, A321, or A319, I think, to Nice.
Right.
But it says that 3 edgy and nervous bodyguards were also sat nearby, the Daily Mail reported. So we've got now the Daily Star reporting stuff that the Daily Mail have reported.
Right, this is
and
great.
when the flight touched down in the pleasant 15 degrees centigrade surroundings, 2 heavily armed officers were apparently seen waiting for the pair. Sources state that members of France's elite Service de la Protection, the police unit responsible for the protection of foreign dignitaries, were tasked with guarding the couple during their stay. They reportedly stayed with friends at a private residence as they unwind before preparations for their May wedding at Windsor Castle.
It's unlikely that the trip was to do with the wind down in preparation for their wedding, which is in May. Let's be honest.
I think so. Yes.
Indeed.
Actually, Tony S is a bit concerned about whether they enjoyed their Marks and Spencer sandwiches.
That's a good point. Nobody. You see, this is where we need Nev on every single flight. You see, because we need to ask them that ultimate question, don't we? Now, actually, a small part of me actually, if this is true, because it's in the Daily Star, so you'll forgive me if I'm sceptical. A small part of me is actually quite impressed by this story because at the end of the day, taking out, because security obviously is quite a serious issue when it comes to royal family. Whatever side of the fence you sit on as to whether you like them or hate them, they are protected quite rightly in my opinion. But to take in this case, because we're talking 2 rows of 3, aren't we? So you're taking out 3, 6, 9. You've got taking out 12 seats essentially, aren't you? With what they were talking about there, that has got to be cheaper than flying them out there on a
BAE 146.
Well, anything. I mean, a private charter or a jet.
Are they still using the 146, Nev, for the Royal flights?
They are. The Royal Fleet are based at RAF Northolt, not too far from where I live.
Yeah.
And they're probably getting on a bit now, actually. But no, that's what they're using for most of the flights. But yes, I think there's been a lot more restriction on who's flying on these things these days.
But
as well.
I don't have a problem with this. I think again, it's the same old story because you never get, for example, Charles and William both flying on the same flight because they're obviously heads of state and all that kind of thing. In the same way that you don't get the Prime Minister and the Deputy if they're both going to something, they don't travel together, do they? I mean, that's just sort of.
Yes, I don't want to be too snobbish about this, but did I ever tell you my Tony Blair story?
No. Go on then.
When I was flying back from Edinburgh one day with the it was actually BMI, so it was British Midlands. Before they got bought by British Airways. And very sadly, Tony Blair and his wife were flying back from Edinburgh because it was Gordon Brown's daughter's funeral.
That's right, yes.
And there was so much fog in Northolt, they couldn't get into there, so they just took a regular chartered, regular passenger service flight back to Heathrow. And my ticket says, as it always does, 1A. So, I'm going straight into 1A. And who should be sitting there but the Prime Minister of the day and next to him, his wife.
Right.
And so it's one of those moments where you have to do a double take. I didn't actually realise it was him, which was a bit stupid of me.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yes.
Well,
it's out of context
and
as well.
I did actually say to him, I'm really sorry, but you're sitting in my seat. And then just at that moment, the 2 rows behind me, there was 6 security people. They sort of gave me a very dirty look as if to say, don't you know who that is? But then the BMI staff came out and said, I'm really sorry, Mr. Bounds, but we're going to have to move you back a couple of rows because of the security people on the plane. But yes, it's one of those moments where I felt particularly foolish.
About 4 inches high. Yes, absolutely.
And you heard it here first on the PTUK.
Well, that's true. Wow, that is quite a story. Yeah.
Oh dear, classic. Never mind.
I like that.
Oh dear.
Well,
it's definitely aviation. We can't get told off for that.
You can't get told off for that. No, that's aviation gold.
Indeed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
don't know what we do.
Don't know how I'm going to top that now.
Indeed.
Well, move
good
on.
Luck.
Move on to the next story, which is on the USAtoday.com website, and the headline is Delta Airlines sends its last Boeing 747 to the Arizona boneyard. Sad times, sad times. So this was a special flight aboard Delta. It was flight 9771 from Atlanta. Passengers apparently wrote on the cabin walls. There was free champagne for all on board, and also there was a wedding in the economy class section. So Delta Flight 9771 was anything but ordinary, and that was by design. On Wednesday, the flight from the world's busiest airport in Atlanta, obviously got power now, to a remote salvage yard in southern Arizona marked the last time that Boeing's 747 jumbos jets would fly for a US passenger airline. United retired its last 747 in November last year, leaving only Delta and some foreign airlines, including British Airways, Lufthansa, Korean Airlines, still using the 747 for passenger flights, though numbers of the aircraft flying non-cargo flights are on the decline. In the US, Delta operated its final regularly scheduled flight on the jet in mid-December, and the 747 lingered on at Delta for 2 more weeks, flying charters mostly for college and pro sports teams. That era officially closed this week, and Delta flew its last 747 charter flight on Tuesday, the 2nd of January, bringing the Clemson University football team home to South Carolina, following the 2018 Sugar Bowl game in New Orleans. With that, there was only one mission left for Delta's last remaining 747, a flight to the Boneyard, a salvage facility where retiring aircraft are sent to be stored or scrapped. That was the mission for Delta's unusual Flight 9771, and when the airline sent its 376-seat jumbo jet on one last flight, on board were just 48 people, a combination of the flight crew, media, and other Delta employees and family members with ties to the 747. During the flight, the passengers used permanent markers to write farewell messages on the plane's seats and cabin walls. Mike Vetter, himself a former Delta 747 pilot, had just spelled out his name above the armrest at seat 10D. He added that the date, along with the words last FLT, an obvious abbreviation for the plane's last flight. No, never, he exclaimed when asked if he'd ever written on the inside of an aircraft before. He let loose with a laugh, adding that such a move might be grounds for termination on a normal flight, he said. On this particular plane, however, the Vetter had a lot of company even before the retirement flight took off from Atlanta. Its interior already bore graffiti from several previous sports charter flights. Delta spokesman Anthony Black said passengers on those flights were told of the plane's impending retirement and were encouraged to leave their own farewell messages on the inside of the plane. The Clemson football team appeared to be the most prolific of the message leavers, though the plane's unique graffiti also suggested the presence of the Buffalo Bills NFL team and an untold number of Delta employees. On Wednesday, the mood was festive throughout the 4-hour flight, perhaps most so during a wedding that gave new meaning to walking down the aisle. Very good, very good.
So did that, yeah.
The in-flight ceremony joined Delta 747 flight attendant Holly Rick and Delta 747 pilot Gene Peterson, who fittingly met 9 years ago while working on a 747 military charter flight in the Middle East. The couple considered several spots for their wedding, but ultimately chose the so-called Queen of the Skies for their ceremony. Aisles in Delta's economy section were gussied up with white lace bunting, rose petals in the aisles, and the bulkhead separating Delta's economy comfort seating from business class doubled as a backstop for the altar. And the story goes on, but obviously this is it's a sad story. Obviously, with the 747s obviously all being retired now. There's no US operators, commercial operators of these now, apart from the obviously the cargo ones versions that are still flying.
That is true.
But what a great way to send off the aircraft in this way. You know, having all these people on board. I mean, there's pictures on the story here showing the graffiti on the walls.
Yeah,
and. You know, it's a shame this is going to probably sit in the desert now for a number of years, and eventually probably be taken apart for recycling or scrap. But what do you think, Nev?
Yes, well, it's. I think the thing is with this, it's such a. It's a classic aircraft, and it's probably one of the only aircraft that have brought mass transportation to so many people and to make it affordable as well, especially on the North Atlantic and the Asia routes as well. So it's a big shame, but it's been a great aircraft, and I've enjoyed flying on it, both in the cheap seats and the slightly more expensive seats in the past. So it had to happen, didn't it, at some point? That's true.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Actually, going back to your little story that you were saying that your little story you were saying about the Blairs. It's something that's caught my eye here. Richard King was saying, more to the point, didn't they know who you were, Nev?
Oh yeah,
well, that's true.
At least I had a boarding card with 1A on it, which is more than he did. This point of order.
Well, indeed, quite right, absolutely. I think that's the way forward. Now, the next story should be mine, but I'm going to see if I can ask one of these two people to read it for me, because it's a Ryanair story. But there is a very nice video. Well, there's a video that highlights the story rather nicely that I'd like to play. So if I could trouble one of you two to read it instead.
Nev?
Yes. Do you want me to have a go at it?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great. Because as I say, I've got a good little video I want to play with it, if I may.
Yes. Okie dokie. Well, this is on the independent.co.uk, another fantastic platform for aviation news. But actually, this is all quite true by the looks of it. And the headline is Ryanair passenger jumps out of emergency exit after Malaga flight delay.
What? I know. This is just ridiculous. And I found a video, which is why I want to play it. So, yeah, carry on.
But there's, for some reason, oh my God, I can see the text now. But it says that a frustrated Ryanair passenger left a plane via the emergency exit and ended up perched on the wing after his flight was delayed on New Year's Day. The man in question, reportedly a 57-year-old Polish national called Victor, told fellow passengers, "I'm going via the wing," reports the Mail Online. He pulled the stunt as flight FR 8164 sat on the tarmac at Malaga Airport. The flight had been delayed by an hour, leaving London Stansted, and was reportedly left for 30 minutes. Once it arrived at Malaga at 11 p.m. with no information given as to why passengers could not disembark. One of his fellow passengers told the Mail Online the man decided he wasn't going to wait any longer. He activated the emergency door and left saying, "I'm going via the wing." It was surreal. He was sat on the wing for quite a while until the crew managed to get him back inside. I don't know why he did it. He must have just lost it, and it was the first thing that came to his head. This fellow passenger filmed the incident during which the man could be overhead saying, "What an effing star, he's off," in Spanish. Meanwhile, nice. Raj Mistry, who was, I know someone called Raj Mistry, I wonder if it's the same one, who was sitting next to the man on the plane, told the Mail Online it may have been because he suffered from asthma. It seems nobody noticed that the man who decided to exit the plane was suffering from asthma, said Mystery. He needed air, hence he decided to exit the plane, but civil guards didn't want to listen to what he had to say. And the Polish national, who reportedly lives in Malaga, took a winter coat and his hand luggage with him. Concerned ground crew managed to talk him back onto the plane, where he was arrested. A Ryanair spokesman said this airport security breach occurred after landing in Malaga Airport on the 1st of January. Malaga Airport police immediately arrested the passenger in question and says that this was a breach of Spanish safety and security regulations. It's being dealt with by the Spanish authorities. A police source told Mail Online, "We responded to a call from Ryanair staff on flight FR 8164 from London, saying a man had opened an emergency door and had walked out onto the wing. The pilot filed a formal complaint as it is standard procedure and handed officers a copy of it. The man is expected to be fined for breaching security regulations." I suppose the good thing about it, in a sense, is that it wasn't doors to automatic, so there was no deployment of the slide. But someone's got to fill out a bit of paperwork here, haven't they?
I think they've got to fill in quite a bit of. But thank you for doing that, Nev, as I say, because I think the video was worth an airing, to be fair. For clarity, if you do want to look at that video and you're not watching the video version of our show, it's available from the independent.co.uk. If you search for Ryanair stories, you'll find that video. But it's just bizarre. Now, the only thing that surprised me is if you have watched that video, there's like a weird sort of striped walkway. Now, I wasn't aware that was on the wings.
That's the 73. I think the Airbuses have them as well, but that's That's obviously it's an emergency exit, and that is the route that you are supposed to take to get off in an emergency, because obviously you've got engines on that wing, so that the route takes you to the kind of near as close to the fuselage as you can get, so you can just sort of hop off, and it's kind of the lowest point if you look at the wing to the ground kind of thing. So
no, I know. It's just I'm sure I've looked. I swear I've looked out of that window and never actually noticed
if you look,
that
if you look, you
Perhaps
can
I've
see
not
them.
looked.
You've got to sort of
down.
you've got to get your head round to look at them.
Yeah,
but,
indeed. So what a moron! That's all I have to say about that. As you say, as Nev was saying, thank goodness they didn't at least the doors were at manual. Otherwise, I mean, you've got slides deploying and all sorts then, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But normally, of course, they only deploy the slides. They only select the doors to automatic after the aircraft has pushed back off the stand. So as it's being pushed back, that's when the automatic release is put on. But nonetheless, it's something you could do without, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
But I mean, you'd have thought there'd have been cabin crew busy tearing him a new one. Surely, I mean, it's just like, I mean, and also having known several people who do suffer from asthma, if they're suffering from asthma that badly, as he apparently is claiming, I think he was. If I'm honest with you, I think he's using it as an excuse to get out of trouble.
Possibly, yeah.
But if you are having a severe asthma attack, you certainly aren't going to have the strength to open doors. Not doors heavy doors like that. I know
they're fairly light, those doors. I think they're the ones you take inside the aircraft, or do you throw them ones out now?
Yes, on the 737, I think they're all plug type doors anyway. So yes, you bring it in and then you throw it out.
Yeah, throw it at someone.
Yes,
as you do.
Shall we break with the show note tradition, and do you want me to take the next one, or shall we?
I don't mind. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Nev, do you want to?
You can, mate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So the next story then is on the Demage.com website, and the headline is "The world's safest airlines for 2018 have been revealed." Now, for those of you who don't know, apparently 2017 has been the safest year in history for aviation. And for the last 4 years, airlineratings.com has singled out Qantas for the top spot in its annual ranking for the world's safest airlines. This year, the website has assessed over 409 major airlines before compiling its final verdict as a list of the top 20 safest aircraft or airline carriers in alphabetical order. So the top 20 safest airlines are always at the forefront of safety, innovation, operational excellence, and the launching of new, more advanced aircraft like the A350 and the Boeing 787, said Jeffrey Thomas, airlineratings.com editor-in-chief. Qantas has been the lead airline in virtually every major operational safety advancement over the past 60 years and has not had a fatality in a jet era. But Qantas is not alone. Long-established airlines such as Hawaiian and Finnair also have perfect records in the jet era. To arrive at its top 20, the airlineratings.com took into account factors like previous incidents, audits from the governments, and the aviation industry's regulatory bodies, fleet age, and airlines' records of crashes and other serious incidents. So the top 10, apparently, of the top 10 airlines in question. I was going to see if I can pull it up here because it doesn't actually. Here we go. So in the top 10 of the highest ranked safest airlines, and it's not loading up. Matt, why isn't it loading up? Is it loading up on your screen?
No. Oh no, there we are. I've got the photos up.
That's it. You just need to scroll through the photos.
I'm doing them in alphabetical order, but I'm starting at the end, so you need to start at V.
Or W, actually.
Is it? Oh. Well, number 20 has come up with Virgin Australia. So
Stephen Grant will be happy then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, shall I close that? That's obviously not working properly, is it? There we are.
No, I seem to have lost the. Have you got the box there, Nev, with these airlines in? Because I seem to have lost the box.
I have, yes. I can go down from 20 to 1 if you wish.
Yes, far away, Nev. So who have we got?
Number 20 is Virgin Australia. Number 19 is Virgin Atlantic. This is a really difficult website to navigate, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And number 18 is Swiss. Number 17 is Singapore Airlines. Number 16 is SAS, Scandinavian Airline System. Number 15 is Royal Jordanian Airlines. Number 14 is Qantas. Number 13 is Lufthansa. Number 12 is KLM. Number 11 is Japan Airlines. Number 10 is Hawaiian Airlines. Number 9 is Finnair. Number 8 is Eva Air. Always good for their logos and painting on their aircraft. Yeah. Number 7 is Etihad Airways. Number 6 is Emirates. Number 5 is Cathay Pacific. Number 4, one of my favourites, is British Airways. In fact, he's the favourite.
Is it? I'm surprised you have a favourite, Nev. I'm very surprised.
And number 3 is All Nippon Airways. Number 2 is Alaska Airlines. And number 1, the favourite of Mr. Glenn Towler, I'm sure, is Air New Zealand.
Oh, well.
How about that?
Yeah, they are a nice. Yeah, they are a nice airline, actually.
Paint scheme is nice. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So they were the 20 airlines, apparently the world's safest airlines for 2018. So there we go. If you're going to fly anywhere in the world, fly with one of those 20.
Those are your best bets.
As long as it's BA.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Goes without saying, surely.
So the next story, this is going to be you then, Matt, for this one.
Okay, which one? Which story is that? Oh, yes, I see. Number 8. Sorry. That's all right, because I was trying to do the photographs, but that website has brought my laptop to a complete standstill.
Okay.
So I might not be able to. Hang on, here we go. We're in luck. It's all right. It's all right. Just a few gremlins. It is the new year, after all. So, yes, there we go. So this is the Business Insider UK website again, and the headline is, Airlines are ditching seatback screens and making you use your phone to watch movies. Now, I don't have a problem with this person.
We just missed a story, but it doesn't matter. It was number... Because we're in out of order, aren't we? We're out of sync with the stories.
Okay, which one should it be? Hang on. Let me ditch this. No, we'll get it right. Hang on.
Okay, it's the dside.com. This one is actually, this one was supposed to be for you to do, Matt, because this has got some really good pictures on this site. For this,
right, okay.
Story.
Shall I just?
Do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, you take this. Why not? Yeah,
so,
completely throw organisation out of the show.
You take the next one.
Yeah.
So this is on the dside.com website, and this headline is Beluga XL photograph posted on social media that shows the new heavy lifter almost fully assembled. For those of you who watch the show, you'll know we've covered a few stories just at the tail end of last year about Airbus's new Beluga, which is going to carry all the various bits and pieces for the new A350s and stuff between production sites here in the UK and across in Toulouse. So the first Beluga XL, the new Airbus heavy lifter, which will eventually replace the current Beluga, has been rolled out of its hangar for the first time. Basic assembly appears to have been completed, and the aircraft has been moved to another part of the Airbus Toulouse site, where work will be completed ahead of ground testing. A picture posted on Twitter by Rami Kana Prad, taken at Airbus's Toulouse, shows the new Beluga XL covered in green protective coating. And if you go on Twitter, there are various pictures on there of this being rolled out of the production facility. So the first flight of the Beluga XL, the eventual successor to the current Beluga, will take place sometime between July and September next year, Airbus has said. The electrical and mechanical systems have been installed for the whole fuselage. Airbus has previously said they aim for electrical power on by the end of 2017, so hopefully they've got that done now, followed by ground tests early this year. The first Beluga XL is scheduled to fly in the third quarter of 2018 ahead of a 10-month flight certification campaign, and will enter service with Airbus Transport International in 2019. Aircraft number 1 is the only aircraft which will take part in this campaign, so it's being equipped with a full flight test instrumentation. The Beluga XL project was launched in 2014 in November, and the transporter is derived from the freighter version of the Airbus A330-200. It is 6 meters longer, 1 meter wider, and has a payload lifting capacity of 6 tons greater than the current Beluga A300-600 ST. When operational, the fleet of 5 Beluga XLs will take over transporting wings from Broughton here in the UK to the company's aircraft assembly lines in France, Germany and Spain. Now, Matt, you put the pictures on the screen while I was doing that story, and it's amazing to see that finally coming together. It is a huge aircraft, and there's a picture at the top of the story on this particular website of a picture of the Beluga XL painted as a beluga whale.
It is,
which is quite funny seeing that. Yeah. Whether they're going to actually paint it to look like that, I don't know, but it's good. This is obviously going to replace the old, quite dated ones, which are still flying quite regularly now. I've seen a few in the air this week, actually, when I've been looking at Flight Radar 24. I've seen these flying to and from the UK and in Toulouse in France. So the old ones are still being used. I wonder what they'll do with the old belugas once they're retired, because obviously they're a bit of a niche aircraft. You can't exactly just sell those to Bob down the road.
It'd be a pretty cool party.
It would be a very cool.
God, can you imagine first class in one of those? You could put. Yeah.
What do you reckon, Nev?
Well, it might be interesting. But they might use it for things like transporting large sections of bridges and things like that, maybe to and from China, places like that. I mean, there must be some components and things which you have to build in a certain size, so that might be a possibility. But it's not the most beautiful looking aircraft, though, is it? Let's be honest.
Oh, I don't know. I quite like it.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. Well, all right, I quite like the fact that they've sort of made it sort of all. That they've sort of like painted it does look like a whale, doesn't it? It does look like the head of a blue whale. So I kind of like the fact that they've done that, to be honest with you. So I like it. It's beauty is not necessarily all. It's what's inside that counts.
Well, a lot of people say that the A380 is not the prettiest of aircraft.
No.
So it must be an Airbus thing. Nick, if you're listening. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Then I think right, who's next? I mean, who? I mean,
I don't
totally
know. I'll take the next
here.
one. We'll see what happens after this. So this is the story that I tried to do a moment ago, which is the Business Insider UK website, and the headline is: Airlines are ditching seatback screens and making you use your phone to watch movies. Which personally, actually, on the flight that I was on recently, I ended up actually using my tablet because it was much better than what I can only describe as 5-inch, I don't know, I think
TFT.
It was TFT screen that was in the back of this thing, because it was United Airlines, everyone, saying more. In fact, I say, actually talking about that the flight that went out there, and you were really impressed at what the inside of that United flight, because it was UA15 that we flew out on.
Yeah.
And you were really impressed, because I sent you a photo, didn't I, of the inside. And it looked, because it obviously had a refit.
Yeah, a bit of
and it was really smart, and it got really nice IFE and all that kind of thing. And I think, oh, there we are. You see, it was just a one-off, that horrible bad experience that I had with the 757. And then I get on this one, and this, honestly, well, in fact, actually, both myself and Charlotte both didn't watch anything on because you couldn't even pick what film you were watching. You had 5 channels to choose from to watch.
Oh, God, blimey.
It was just like, so you couldn't start the film like when you wanted to. You had to sort of dip in. It was just appalling.
Hideous.
Anyway, airlines are beginning to remove the seatback screens passengers once used to watch movies and TV shows, according to the New York Times. Instead, they want passengers to stream content provided by the airline on their personal devices. American and United Airlines are including the screens on new planes designed for short trips, which not including the screens on new planes designed for short trips, which reduces the weight of the aircraft as well as installation and maintenance costs that can total over $10,000. The shift comes as passengers increasingly favour personal devices like laptops, phones and tablets over seatback screens. In response, airlines are offering free mobile messaging and in-flight entertainment that passengers can stream onto their devices. Delta Airlines announced it would make hundreds of movies and TV shows available to passengers on their personal devices and on aircraft with seatback screens in 2016, and introduced free mobile messaging for passengers in 2017. Alaska Airlines rolled out a similar service in 2017, while American and United have moved to make sure more entertainment options are available to passengers on their devices, according to the Times. While the shift may be cost-effective for airlines, some travellers prefer seatback screens to using personal devices because they take up less space and don't threaten to drain their devices. Now, that I don't agree with, actually, to be honest with you, because even on the most basic of planes, as long as they give you the provision to USB charge your device...
Not all airlines do, but...
No, I know, but if you're going to go down this route and have USB, like if you're going to be expected to watch your in-flight entertainment using your own tablet, then you're going to need a USB power supply, aren't you? But you see, I'd much rather watch something on my laptop than I would their screen, because I know, and it doesn't seem to matter which IFE you use, you always get a weird whiny whistly noise from your headphones. Yeah, see, I get but I'm a real sound snob. I am a hardcore sound.
Mr. Smith. I mean,
obviously BA don't have such problems, of course, Nev, do they? I mean, it's just...
Well, no, but I think it's a good point that Tony S makes in the chat room.
Oh, yeah, go on.
He says that the only problem is it encourages more lithium-ion batteries.
Good point.
Very true.
Well,
Very
but
true.
then people will bring it anyway, won't they? But I've always been less than impressed with the IFE on most flights. I mean, there's a few now that are slightly better, but it's all a bit clunky, isn't it? And it's obviously not as good as your own content and your own apps that you've got on your own device.
I think the content is good. I mean, the flights I've had on the 380 and the 777 with Emirates have both had great IFE systems. The screens aren't huge, but they're not going to be huge.
That's all right.
The screen display qualities have all been great. Like I said, the selection, the content selection has always been top class with Emirates. And with the 787-9, I flew with BA last year, I think it was last year, to Oman. The IFE on that, the screen display was very good, very clear. I mean, if there's any one thing I could probably pick out as being kind of a bit rubbish with some of the IFE systems, is some of the touch screens can be a tad unresponsive.
Right. Okay.
So you kind of have to sort of punch them to input your selection.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I do get the point in that some IFE systems, and I've been on it was a Oman Air A330 between Dubai and Oman, and albeit a 30-minute flight, 25-minute, 30-minute flight, it had IFE systems on the A330, but they were abysmal. That was literally like a 1990s TFT screen with the colour of a black and white film.
Really?
But I think this for an airline, looking at the weight savings, Nev, and stuff, by taking out these seat back screens, it's going to save the airlines quite a bit
the
on
weight.
weight.
The penalty associated with IFE is quite substantial, and I think people like Panasonic and one or two others who are major suppliers to the airlines, obviously they have to produce products in a very, very lightweight fashion indeed, because of how heavy all this is when you've got 400 or 500 of these things on the aircraft. But I think with so many people having their own devices now, there's going to be a move towards perhaps fewer IFE systems and more distribution of content with an internal, powerful Wi-Fi system or something like that.
Actually, Evan Shue makes a good point, actually, Matt, in the chat room, that the moving map screen is his favourite channel.
Good point. Yeah.
So that is. I do like.
But there's nothing to stop them from doing that as part of their. That's a very simple, glorified web page.
I tell you what is a great thing that Emirates do on the 380 and the 777. I think they do it on as well. I think Qantas do it on the 380. I think most airlines do it on the 380s. They have the cameras on the 380. They have the camera on the tail that looks down across the aircraft. And then I think on the 777s they have as well the cameras on the nose wheels that look in front of the aircraft, and also on the 777 as well, on the Emirates one, they have the camera that looks directly down below the aircraft. So whilst you're flying along, you can see what's below you, and you can switch between cameras on the IFE, which is pretty awesome when you're sitting at the gate, especially with the 380, because you're looking at a tail camera that looks down the complete length of the aircraft to see what's going on around the aircraft as you're pushing back. Is pretty cool.
Okay, yes, if you're an aviation geek, that is, I suppose, the closest you're going to get to actual porn in flight, isn't it? Really, let's be honest.
Falco in the chat room has said that on one Delta flight, the entertainment system crashed 4 times. That was obviously run by a Mac in the row, and they decided to turn it off. Needless to say, how long that 8-hour flight was.
I haven't got the desk to hand, otherwise I would mute him Nev. I am so offended.
Now, you know what a big fan I am of British Airways, but I've been on a couple of British Airways flights recently where they're still using, do you remember the High 8 videotape format?
I do. No. Good heavens, yes.
Yes, they are still using it for the safety demo, and guess what? The tape gets all creased and they have to restart it, and it's all a bit nasty. So
do they have to
a bit of an upgrade there?
Did they have to use the tracking button there?
That's right.
Yeah. You got that line of white dust.
Yeah,
that has to be sort of fiddled with.
Yeah. I can have drop out.
Fond memories as a child.
Yes,
with my finger on the tracking button, getting rid of the white line. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, I've got a bone to pick with you, Mr. Stebbings.
What's that?
They're not based on Apple products at all. They're usually Linux based. Those systems.
Okay.
So don't you start.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. Nev,
Yes.
this next story I thought was quite a nice story there for you to read. Yeah.
And this is on the walesonline.co.uk, and you can now catch the Northern Lights during a 3-hour night flight from Cardiff Airport. If you've always wanted to see the Northern Lights, then now's your chance to enjoy them, and you don't need to travel far. But only if you're in Wales, obviously.
Of course.
For there's a 3-hour night flight from Cardiff Airport during which you will experience the Aurora Borealis from the air. The Northern Lights is a spectacular natural light show, and many people travel as far as Iceland, Norway and Sweden for the best glimpses of them. However, whilst some of the best views can be had from ground level, visibility can be hampered by surrounding light pollution or bad weather. The flight from Cardiff will take you above the Earth's weather systems to give some impressive views of the Northern Lights and even the Milky Way. The package from Omega Holidays includes in-flight astronomers' commentary, so you know exactly what's happening. The one-off experience is taking place on Friday, March the 16th, and costs £219.95 per person. Spencer Burns, commercial director at Cardiff Airport, told IntroBiz, our customers will love this new, unique opportunity to discover the Northern Lights with a starry flight from Cardiff. What a new and interesting way to discover the sky at night. And you can find more details about this on the Omega Holidays website. A colleague of mine, actually, Kevin, that I used to work with and I've interviewed for the Nev's Passions Experience segment, he went up to Iceland just last week, actually, took some fantastic photos of the Aurora Borealis, and I saw it when I was in the north of Sweden many years ago. It is a fantastic light show, and something which the pictures are great, but you've got to experience it for yourself one day.
I think this is a great opportunity. I think, Nev, for for people to have it's kind of a treat, really. Pay a couple £100.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest. One of the best places to probably see this is in the air. From an aircraft.
True.
From a like an aviation geek's point of view, I mean, this is kind of like a two presents rolled into one, really, for the sake of a couple £100.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely one. I'm quite tempted to. Where have you got to drive to? Cardiff.
Just Cardiff.
Yeah, it's not far. It's all right. Just a quick hack down
the
M4.
Get a flight there.
Get a flight there. What, from Norwich? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That'd be £400 plus a £10 development fee.
Of course, absolutely. Yes, you've got to get your tax.
Oh, blimey.
Anyway.
So the next story, moving on, is on the register.co.uk, right. And it's a story we kind of cover every now and again on the show, and it's about the drones. And we obviously cover the stories where apparently drones may have hit aircraft or this, that and the other. But they're actually doing proper actual tests now to see what the damage would be if a drone, a full-size, proper, an actual DJI-sized drone, hit an aircraft in flight.
Wow.
So a British drone collision study used as evidence for the government's flagship drone pilot registration law found UAVs pose less of a risk to airliners than government officials and trade unions have claimed. A study which the government refused to reveal in full despite being asked by industry and news media alike is the key piece of supposedly scientific evidence backing its proposed drone bill. That parliamentary bill is due to be published in spring this year. It will create new criminal offences targeted at flyers of drones that weigh more than 250 grams who fail to register with the government and pass a mandatory safety test before using their craft. The risks caused by drones to manned aircraft were allegedly quantified by the study. The Register has obtained a redacted copy of the study and compared the public statements from its sponsors with what the research actually states. A press release summary of the drone collision study, first published when the government revealed its registration plans last year, was used by pilots and trade union BALPA as evidence of a proven drone collision threat. In reality, the full study carried out on behalf of the government by the defence R&D company Quintic, or Kinetic, and testing firm Natural Impacts found that for airliners, the risk posed was far less alarming than both the union and the Department of Transport had claimed. Instead of penetrating the cockpit windows, rigorous tests of drones launched against Airbus A320 windscreen panes fitted to a testbed cockpit found that drone airliner collisions will crack but not penetrate such windows. The Airbus A320 series, comprising of the A318, A319, A320 and A321 aircraft, is one of the most widely used airliner families in the world. When it announced the drone registration scheme, or PDF, 65 pages of it, the government said, for airliners the test results are more reassuring. Only a much heavier drone of around 2 kilograms in weight would cause critical damage, and only when airliners fly at higher speeds. BALPA was explicitly involved with the study to assure safety and influencing requirements such as minimum design and operational standards for remotely piloted systems, i.e. drones, were kept in place. So, I mean, this is obviously something that needed to be done at some point, was testing to see what would happen in a situation such as this, where a drone would fly and hit.
But did I understand that right? The thing that disturbs me the most here is essentially that they've made a claim that severe damage can be done by a drone, and they've based their entire legislation and all that kind of thing on something that isn't true.
Yeah, well, I mean, when this all first started out years ago, when drones were getting very popular and the potential of this happening could happen, it was kind of a whole thing. Whereas if a drone hit a plane, end of story. But obviously, you know, it could, as a test show here, it could hit an aircraft, but not penetrate.
Yeah, but the thing
window.
that disturbs me is they're saying that it would penetrate a windscreen, and in fact, actually, the very tests that they did, which they are hiding from the general public, was actually that what they were claiming happened didn't happen. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think you know, aeroplanes and drones should be in the same airspace. I'm not condoning that by any stretch of the imagination. My alarm bell that's ringing here is that the government has basically made a claim that is not true. Have I misunderstood that?
In a roundabout way, yeah. I mean, also you got to remember this is a test of a drone hitting a windscreen of an aircraft, and as it says on the test results, it cracked the first layer of glass.
Okay. Yeah.
But you know, there's an aircraft is a big thing.
Yeah,
it could hit an
I
engine.
Get that. Yeah, okay,
various...
yeah. But then, you know, is there much of a difference between a bird and a drone in regard to?
Well, birds are obviously, some birds are a lot heavier.
Yeah, well, yeah, but this is kind of the thing that's concerning me. I don't agree that drones should suddenly be sort of allowed to go where they like. The alarm bell ringing in my head is that they've basically said, you know, if it hits a windscreen, it will penetrate the windscreen. You know, everybody will be in terrible danger. When in fact, what actually happened after multiple tests was that the first windscreen was cracked, not penetrated.
Not penetrated, yeah.
That's, I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
But Falco, obviously, like I just said, makes a good point in the chat room that makes him wonder whether they will start to conduct tests with drones entering engines of airliners.
Yeah, I think that's more important.
I think I mean, obviously, that is going to be more of an issue. I think if a drone does penetrate, especially a full-size DJI, which is obviously quite a big drone.
You know,
but
it's just to release. You know, that's what's annoying me is essentially, you know, you'll get people now who will read this story and say that the government lied, so why, you know, I can't really believe them on anything else. When in fact, obviously, you know, a drone is going to, you know, potentially be a serious risk, and I mean serious risk to losing an engine on your, you know.
Also, Falco's made another great point as well, and we've covered stories about this in the past. Yeah, that hail storms can be even more damaging to aircraft than drones.
I mean, forgive me, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just trying.
What do you reckon, Nev?
See from all points.
Well, I never thought I'd ever say this, but and I don't want to alarm anybody at all, but I almost think it's we've been mucking about with this for far too long.
Yeah.
And whilst I don't wish it to happen to anybody, least of all me or anybody that's listening or watching the show, I feel it might actually take a big moment.
Yes.
In order for
somebody
us
to actually do something as
the aviation world to wake up to this and actually put a stop to it once and for all. And that may include bringing down an aircraft, that may include fatality, that may include serious engine damage, whatever it is. And I hate myself for saying it virtually, but this has just been going on and on and on for years now. And we seem to have very little
actual
information. Real sort of action going on to clamp down on what is a very serious
as I say,
problem.
and like I said a moment ago, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't think that drones and aeroplanes should be anywhere near each other. I just want to make that clear. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here in the fact that what disturbs me about this story is I personally do think they are a huge risk to aircraft. But lying about it, about your findings, as a way of trying to get legislation through.
I think they padded the findings out in the beginning.
Right.
I think that's the word. Padded them out.
Padding out, or crack, or penetrate. I mean, that penetrate in suggests one thing, as where a crack is still not ideal. I'm not saying that that's a good situation, but, the cabin isn't going to depressurize as a result of a crack in a windscreen.
No. Richard King makes a good point in the chat room that they just need to tackle the idiots flying drones where they shouldn't.
Completely. Absolutely. 100%
Very true.
agree.
Very true. Well, that was quite an exciting debate, wasn't it?
I'm sorry.
We do like it when we have debates like that on the show.
Indeed. And as I say, and I think Nev's right. I think he's completely right. It's going to take, and I think we've said it before, haven't we? It's going to take something catastrophic to happen before everybody sort of sits down together and sort of, finally thrashes out and comes up with and it needs to be a worldwide program, doesn't it? There's no point in just doing local legislation. It needs to be worldwide, not just countrywide.
So the next story, Matt, is for you, and this one is what can I put this? It's a bit of a remember what was that song in the 80s? There's a rat in the kitchen. Am I gonna?
Oh yes.
One? Yeah. Do you know what I mean, Nev?
Are you
remember
right
that story? Yeah. It's a bit of a vermin style story. This one, Matt, isn't it for you?
Right. Okay. So this is on the sea. I'm almost terrified to read this one now. It's
I just keep thinking of the words Roland in my head.
Okay. Yeah. Roland Rat. So basically, it's a CNBC website, and okay. Sorry, I had an ad blocker. Sorry about that. So rat boards a plane at a California airport and forces a cancellation. So Alaska Airlines is calling in an exterminator after the company said a rat boarded one of its planes at Oakland International Airport in California and forced it to cancel the flight. The airline says passengers were boarding the Portland, Oregon-bound flight on Tuesday when the rat jumped from the jetway onto the plane. Passengers already on board came off, and then the plane was taken out of service. Most of the 110 passengers scheduled to take the flight were rebooked on a later flight to Portland. Alaska Airlines says it will resume using the plane when a professional exterminator certifies it is rodent-free. The aircraft will also be inspected for any damage.
Now, I can stress this is a real story. This wasn't this wasn't a fake story. This did actually happen.
Okay, fake news. Fake news.
Not a fake news story. And it's just amusing. The way the story says, that a rat forces the cancellation. I just imagine this big beefy rat, trotting on the aircraft.
With his big,
stop!
You're
big
not scythe.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I got the wrong end of the story completely. When they talk about rats in aviation, they normally refer to the ram air turbine, which is the little thing which drops below the body if you lose engines, and it gives you, I think, electrics and maybe some hydraulics.
Yeah, basic electrics and hydraulics. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I mean, that would be. I don't know. Maybe that should have been our last story because that would have been a perfect and finally. I know. Yeah, but anyway.
No, we have the last story though for you, Nev. It's quite a nice story actually. It's regarding it's an aircraft that my granddad flew on back many years ago. So it's quite a poignant story, and it'd be nice to see this particular aircraft restored. So carry on, Nev.
Yeah, certainly would be. And this is on the bbc.co.uk website. And it's about a Bristol freighter aeroplane, which is to be restored. And it was shipped from New Zealand, where it had been in storage since it last flew in 1977. And it's going to be restored at Aerospace Bristol. It's become the only aircraft of its type in Europe. Police warned of delays on the M5 and A38 roads whilst the aircraft's fuselage was moved from Portbury Docks to Bristol earlier on. The Bristol Type 170 was designed and built by the Bristol Aeroplane Company, was used as a transport aircraft known as the freighter and as a passenger airline known as the Wayfarer. The innovative freighter had a 108-foot 33-metre wingspan and featured distinctive clamshell doors that allowed cargo, including vehicles and large animals, to be loaded via its nose. Of 214 freighters and Wayfarers built between 1945 and 1958, only 11 remain. The newly arrived aircraft is believed to be the only freighter left in Europe. There were a few nervous moments as the fuselage was lowered onto the low loader in almost gale force winds.
Oh no.
It would be bad if they'd had a moment there, wouldn't it? Two mobile cranes worked in harmony, precisely placing her on the flat bed. The last leg of the journey is up the M5 towards her final resting place at the Aerospace Museum before the task of lovingly restoring her begins. Adam Jones from Aerospace Bristol said that the aircraft would not go on show to the public at the museum immediately. She's not museum ready and there's quite a lot of work to do, he said. For now, she'll be safely stored and assessed. But what a great news story that is. And it looks like a remarkably adaptable and flexible aircraft as well,
certainly
doesn't it?
Does, yeah. I love the fact that the front of the nose can open up.
Yeah, nose can open up.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Such an amazing looking aircraft.
Yeah, it is.
Really
good. Agreed.
And it was used across the globe. You know, the Royal Canadian Air Force, they had them. And the last one of these actually flew in 2004. And it went, one of these freighter versions had a final ferry flight to the Reynolds, Alberta Museum in Wetaskiwin, Alberta. I'll probably pronounce that completely wrong. But only 214 of these were built during the war. And they were produced between 1945 and 1958. But it was, really iconic bit of engineering, bit of British engineering, I think. Nev.
Yes.
Very good.
Yep, so that is where we are going to bring the commercial news segment to a close. Don't forget, for those of you who are watching us live in the chat room, we are going to be announcing the winners of our Christmas competition. We have all the results, all the names are here. I've got them here, all in little folded up little
all the
pieces correct answers here.
The names of.
And we're going to announce those at the end of the show. But we're going to have a quick break before we move on to the next part of the show.
Yeah.
So
we'll be right back after these short messages.
Find this and other great shows at the Aviation Media Network.
TheVoicesInYourHead.com. The Plain Talking UK podcast is a voluntary project that aims to keep you informed with the latest aviation-related stories from newswires across the globe.
Producing our content does cost money though. If you enjoy our show, why not help us keep on the air by making a donation towards the server and website hosting fees through PayPal. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated.
Are you an Amazon user? If so, why not do your shopping through the link on our website? There's no cost to yourself and Amazon pay us a small referral fee on qualifying purchases.
To find out more about the show and to meet the team, take yourself to our website www.plaintalkinguk.com
or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/plaintalkinguk, on Twitter via @plaintalkinguk, or get in touch via email on podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. Thanks for listening.
Flybe 5823, Trent Dane for 23 Manchester, Wizz Air 6X, climb flight level 210, direct to Britman's Park. United 123, maintain 280 knots. London 2TME, turn right onto Bravo, link, 21 join Alpha, hold at Mora, Speedbird 472, LOC/DME, approach runway 27 left, follow the green stand 544.
That's enough air traffic control for today, Nat. Bedtime. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to fly a commercial passenger jet? Looked up at the sky and thought, I wish that was me? Well, now anyone has the chance to have a go at flying in a real aircraft simulator. NP Simulations and Flight Experience London, the only official Boeing licensed product of its kind in the UK, offer you the chance to fly anywhere in the world in their fixed-base Boeing 737-800 flight simulator. And that's not all. Ground School London offers many different courses for the up-and-coming pilot looking for a start in aviation. With prices starting at just £109, the sky's the limit. So for the ultimate flight simulator experience, or engaging preparatory courses, including those for schools and colleges, check out the websites at www.london.flightexperience.co.uk and www.groundsschoollondon.com, or call on 020 300 40 616. NP Simulations. Fly your dreams.
And that is, of course, where we'll be hosting the 200th show on the 20th of this month.
Very exciting.
Yeah. So on that note about the 200th, then, Nev, before we do the Christmas competition draw, so any updates?
Lots of stuff has been going on behind the scenes for the 200th show. It's actually quite a lot of work to do it, really.
Yeah, I think this might be the last time we do something like this.
I think it's going to be absolutely
I literally
awesome.
Cannot wait.
There's so many people coming from all around the world. We've got people coming from the US, from Sweden, and it's incredible, actually. And we're really grateful for the number of people that are going to be turning up for it. But it's going to be a great event, and we're going to be doing a live show from there as well. We'll be doing interviews with our listeners that turn up as well. So, really looking forward to it. And, it's only just around the corner, isn't it? Another 2 shows, and that's it, isn't it?
Well, with 2 shows, it'll be over. We've got one more, and then it is.
Yeah, one more live show here, and then it's a 200.
Literally can't believe it.
It's going to be epic. So we are all really looking forward to it. And as these guys have said here, as Matt here and Nev, who you can see there, as I've said. Both Matt and Nev have put. There he is. There's Nev. I'll point at Nev. I'll just tickle him on. There you go.
Right. Careful, family.
As these guys have said, Matt and Nev have put a huge amount of legwork and footwork into doing stuff, and Nev has put a lot of of groundwork in and stuff to putting stuff together for the 200th show. So big thanks to you two guys for.
So just to remind everyone, I'm very sorry, but all the spaces are full.
Yes, they are. We have our guest list all.
We do indeed.
Set in place,
But obviously, we're going to stream as much of the day as technology will allow, basically. Yes. So if you want to participate in the show, you can still do it from your computer, your tablet, your phone, wherever it is you're gonna be. Even some people listening to it in their car these days. So it's going to be really good fun. I know I've no idea what you're on about, Carlos. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at lip reading.
I was just going to say, Matt, that it would be nice as well if any of the listeners from across the globe who can't obviously make it over here to the UK, if you want to send an MP3 in,
by
some
all
audio
means,
feedback,
participate. We'd love
it would
to
be great. We can play those out during
that would be great. So if you've got
show.
any messages you'd like to send us, please do so. Usual place, podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. Yeah, I'm literally so excited. I even had a dream about it last night.
I know, and I tell you what, Gemma is adamant that she is not going to go in the sim.
Right. Okay.
She honestly is. I'm not going in the sim. No.
Oh, okay.
So for anyone who's in the chat room who's going to the 200th, there, make sure you
Why do you want to force your wife into the simulator? What's wrong with you?
Because
are you hoping that she might get this unbelievably overwhelming desire to become a commercial pilot herself or something?
The thing with
release funds so you can carry on with your flying or something.
No, the thing what's always amused me about my lovely wife is she'll hate something, okay.
Right.
And like the flight deck.
Are you sure you should be saying this out loud for all to download?
She's not
freely?
Watching. She's not watching. So flight. Just for one instance,
I'd put money on Micah dobbing you in. By the way,
Micah probably will. So flight deck visits. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I love them. Yes. Every time I go on an aircraft, I always go up to the flight deck, ask to get invited up to the flight deck. And Gemma was always a person who would not be interested at all in that. You know.
Right.
Nah.
Okay.
But the last two times we've flown long haul and had the invitation that we do now get to go on the flight deck, I'll tell you honestly, she loves it.
Right. Are you sure that's not because she's just come up to pull you away from the poor captain
who's
been stuck with you for 20 minutes?
She absolutely loves it. She absolutely loves the flight deck visits. So I am really looking forward to getting her in the simulator.
I'm going to have to ask the question, Sir Nev of Bounds. Does Sue have any, are you a sort of a cockpit visitor if you can get away with it? Or?
Yes, I am, and she just rolls her eyes and goes, again, how embarrassing.
Oh, dear.
Just one thing forgot to mention about the 200th show. Yeah. I'm going to be bringing my microphone and recorder with me, and going to be a general nuisance because I would like to record some more Nev's passenger experiences for broadcast later on. So if anyone that's coming to the 200th show like spend 5 or 10 minutes with me having a chat about some of your flying experiences, I'd be delighted to feature you on future episodes of the show.
So I've just read Falco's note in the chat room.
Is it family friendly?
It's brilliant. He said Falco said that he took his wife in the company simulator, flight simulator, and he's put guess who crashed. He did.
Right. Yeah. See, this is the thing, isn't it? Because if I bet if Gemma does have a go, she will absolutely knock spots off everyone else there. I should imagine, because she's very meticulous about what she does.
She'll probably be cleaning the flight deck as we're in the sim. Anyway, moving swiftly on before I get divorced.
Yeah, right. Yes, absolutely. It's been a lovely few years.
It's been a lovely few years. Yeah. The Christmas competition, obviously, we set at Christmas time last year.
Yes, indeed.
And we had some awesome prizes. I've got them down here.
Okay. Yes.
So the first prize here we go. Just destroying the microphone here.
Right. Good.
The first prize that we have here for the potential winner of this first prize.
Okay.
And this is This is
what I like. Always prepared. Look, here we go.
Stage 6 compressor blade.
Yeah. Maybe you could show them out of the bag.
If I can get that out of the bag, actually. This is a Stage 6 compressor blade from a Harrier, a T6 Harrier jump jet. Here we go. This is an actual compressor blade from the engine itself, from a Hawker Siddeley Harrier. There we got the picture of said fan blade compressor section, and we also have the various photographs of the aircraft that this particular blade came from. There we go. And this aircraft was Zulu Delta 992, which comes with a little history on the aircraft here, which you can't probably see. There we go. Yeah. This was a T8 version of the Hawker Siddeley Harrier jump jet.
So that's prize one. If you pass that all over to
me,
and
that comes with a Haynes manual, just in case you're wondering how
rebuild your own Harrier.
Rebuild your own Harrier. So I'll just pass that over to Matt.
And then what we'll do is whoever wins that one, we'll put the bit of paper on top of that so we don't get a muddle. Okay.
So the second prize, for those of you watching in the YouTube chat room, Matt's just dropped the fan blade on the floor. Please don't lose the fan blade, Matt, because they're incredibly rare to get hold of.
Right, okay.
You know, there's not many Harrier jump jet fan blades laying around the UK. Right. So the second prize on the list is this is a limited edition piece of aircraft fuselage. This is off a Boeing 747, so obviously this is quite poignant for one of the stories that we had in the show earlier on.
Very much so.
And this particular part is from Golf Victor Foxtrot Alpha Bravo, which was a Virgin Atlantic 747. And this is a part of the skin, the fuselage. You can probably see this side of the tag is an actual tag, and it literally is cut from the fuselage of the aircraft. Wow. This is a limited edition one. This is number 4,665 of 5,000 of these, which were cut from the skin of that 747. And that also again comes with a Haynes manual, just in case you want to know how to operate and run a 747.
Okay, right. So maybe we should send that to Captain Nick. No,
we should. Captain Nick, you've won. So the third prize, which Matt loves this.
I desperately want one of these.
Matt loves this. The third prize is this amazing Ryanair 737-800 scale model.
Do you have to glue it together yourself?
And
you're right there, Nev.
I can let you all know that this is for ages 14 plus. So Matt, unfortunately, I don't know.
Hey now, How do you buy it?
But it's in the box. It's not been made. It's ready for you to unwrap and made.
Sealed
so
and
that's
vac
pretty cool.
for extra freshness.
Yes, ready to go. So we go. That's the third prize.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something that I don't do very often on the live shows, and I'm going to take my hat off.
My God,
I need a haircut.
Yeah, you do.
Look at that, I do need a haircut.
I can recommend a barber.
I use that barber.
So while Carlos is busy filling his hat up with the names in the hat and the correct answers, I'm going to whiz through the questions and the answers. So question 1 was, what date was the first Boeing 747 rolled out of the Everett Assembly Building? And the answer was September the 30th, 1968. What year did the Airbus A300 make its maiden flight? That was
1826?
No, 1972. Don't start. What was the world's first airline to use an aircraft in revenue service? And that was DLAG. So it's the Deutsche Luft. Any idea how to say any of this? Anyway, DLAG is the correct answer. Is it Deutsche Luftschiffahrts Aachen was the world's first.
You didn't
airline.
do very well at German at school, did you, Matt?
I did actually do German.
Okay, carry on.
Question 4. As of October 2017, which airline has the world's largest fleet of commercial airliners? And the answer is American Airlines, who operate a fleet of 947
I know.
aircraft.
They've got a couple,
really
haven't they?
Frightening telephone. That's telephone number? Frightening number. Question 5. Which airline called itself the world's friendliest airline and painted a smile on the nose of its airplanes? And that was the Pacific Southwest Airlines.
Yeah.
Question 6 was, which two nationalised airlines corporations which two nationalised airline corporations and which two regional airlines were merged to form British Airways on March the 31st, 1974? And the answer was British Overseas Airways Corporation and the British European Airways. So it's 3 actually, was it? So it was 3 airlines merged into one.
Nev, you should know all about this.
Yes, British Airways was merged from BOAC and BEA. Obviously BOAC was the international operation and the BEA was the European operation.
And then the other 2 airlines that were also involved in said merger was the Cambrian Airways and the North East Airlines. So it was 4 airlines merged together to generate what we now know as British Airways. And finally, question number 7 was, what year was Ryanair founded and what aircraft did they first fly? 1984 was when they were first formed, and it was an Embraer EMB 110. Is it Banter? Somebody else tell me. What's that?
It was, sorry, the answer is 1984, and it was the Embraer EMB 110 Bandarante.
Right, beautifully said, indeed. So I managed to thrash those together rather nicely. I think crashed those.
Anyway, before we dipped off there quickly, we filled the hat up for those of you in the. There we go. For you in the YouTube land. Oh, there we go. Matt's got it on.
So you can see what he's up to.
There we go. There's loads of bits of paper in here in my hat.
There we go.
It's not very often you'll see my head.
No,
so,
indeed. He does actually have a whole head of hair. I don't know why he hides it from everyone.
So what we're going to do, we're going to pick one each, and Nev is going to send me Uri Geller style thoughts to pick one out in Nev's name, because obviously Nev's not here with us in the studio.
Okay, right.
So I will pick the winner of the first
I think he's
prize.
nodded off. I think he's nodded off.
No, Nev.
We're that boring, ladies and gentlemen. The host nods
the
off.
host nods off. So I am going to pick. I'm going to pick the first prize winner.
Okay.
Nev is going to pick the second prize winner, and
I'm going to pick
illustrious.
Right. Okay. And I'm going to pick the one who I'm wrestling in order for the Ryanair model. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay. So here we go then. The first one out of the hat. I'm going to put my hand in here and swish around some bits of paper. You can see that. For those of you listening on the audio podcast, you'll just pretend. Imagine you're looking.
You can watch us drawing it on YouTube.
So this is the winner of the Harrier Jump Jet fan blade and the Haynes manual to learn how to fly or to look after the Harrier.
Yeah. Okay.
So right, here we go then. I have the name in my hand here, and the winner is, if I can hold up to the camera.
Oh, I suppose you want to change camera now, do you? Oh, okay, there you go.
And I can announce that, there we go, for the winner is, for the first prize, Tony Stubbings.
Oh.
So, Tony Stubbings, you have won the Harrier T6 Harrier Jump Jet fan blade and the Haynes manual.
Is that Tony S?
That is Tony S.
Tony S. Yeah,
I think Tony S. he was in the chat room actually. I think.
Yeah.
So that's Tony S. Well done.
Make him feel a bit better because he was a bit.
In his sick bed, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tony S. You have won that. So Tony, just drop us an email with your address, and I will get that posted off to you as soon as possible. Right, Nev, I'm holding my hand above my hat here. Now,
yes, I just sort of dive
if you just, where do you want me to go? Left a bit.
This is not going to work, is it?
No, I can see there's trouble.
Nice try, Carlos, but absolutely.
That one, Nev. That one there. Okay. Right, so we have one here. So this is the second prize. This is the limited edition piece of a Virgin Atlantic 747 with the Haynes manual.
That's
and this one is, there we go, David Kavanagh. So David Kavanagh.
Very good.
There we go. David Kavanagh. Drop us an email. David Kavanagh.
planetalkinguk.com.
Yeah, I shall probably send an email to all the winners as well, who have obviously entered in through email.
Fair enough.
So it leaves us to draw the last prize winner. That is the Ryanair model.
Okay.
Here we go, Matt. He's drawing it. Look at him.
I'm just giving them a little bit of a thing because I can actually. So I'm just gonna hold it up like that because I can actually see the thing. So here we go. The last one. Here we go. I think this is it. This is like. There we go. So,
can I put my hat back on now?
No, you've got to take the paper out first.
I've took the paper out.
So, the last prize, not the booby prize by any stretch of the imagination, but the last prize, and this goes to Lucas.
There we go. I can't. Your finger's in the way, Matt.
I'm sorry, I didn't do that very well, did I? Let's try that. There we go.
Lucas. I hope I pronounced this correctly, Lucas. Lucas Tiberzi. Like Lucas Tiberzi.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll pronounce your name correctly, Lucas. Lucas Tiberzi, if you could drop us a line as well. You have won the amazing Ryanair 737 model. So there we go. That's it. That's the Christmas competition winners all picked out of the hat. I'm going to say a massive thank you to everyone who sent in your answers and entered the competition. And we, it's part of our sort of giving back, really. I think to the listeners as much as we can. So I hope you all enjoyed the competition. We will probably possibly run another competition later on in the year during the summer, I think, as well. Something a bit sort of summery-fied, I think, something along those lines.
Yes.
But no, thanks again, and as I said, to all the listeners and that who entered, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. A great response this year, so thank you very much to all our lovely listeners who...
Lucas is in the chat room.
Oh, fantastic.
Hey,
there we go. Yes.
Lucas.
Yes, so I should be wrestling Lucas for the 737-800 model.
Lucas is going to get an empty box.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You think I'm joking.
Right. Tony S. has said that's cheered him up.
Good. That's what I like
good.
To hear.
That's what we like to hear.
So that is where we're going to bring, I'm afraid, episode number 198 to a close. It is the last but one before our it's the penultimate one next week before our 200th show, which is slightly scary. I cannot believe. Nev, it's been a pleasure as always.
Great guys, and been a great show again, and congratulations once again to all the winners. And a lot of people are entering the competition this year, and it was really great.
We've got
really
some
good prizes
knowledgeable
there too,
people.
actually, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Although it's amazing what you can find. Even I can answer it with Google, but we'll gloss over that and move on. Sorry. As long as the information in Wiki is correct. Yeah.
Yes. That's cheating.
Yeah.
What? You're supposed to use the good old-fashioned nod.
Okay. Are you suggesting that every single one of those answers was answered by our listeners without gauging in some kind of research?
I'm fairly confident that all the listeners who answered those questions used their depth of knowledge.
Okay, good, excellent. I'm delighted to hear that. What, their depth of knowledge of Google, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Anyway, sorry, that at the end of on that controversial note.
Bombshell.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks to everyone who's joined us in the chat room live tonight. In there, loads of names, including some of our winners as well on the Christmas comp. Don't forget to join us again next Friday for our last live show before our 200th show.
Indeed.
At the Simulator Centre at MP
don't forget, if you want to get in touch with the show, it's available to you via Facebook and Twitter. Our handles on both of those are at Plain Talking UK. To send an email to the show, it is podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. We love to get your feedback, whether it be in writing, as an audio file, video files, whatever you want. We just love to receive it. And to take yourself to the website is www.plaintalkinguk.com. One of the best bits of our show, I think, is the Plane Safety or Plane Safety with Pilot Pip, and if you haven't caught the episode that he released with Captain Al over the Christmas period, that was ATC Overload episode, Plane Safety Podcast 47. That is worth a listen if you haven't done so already.
And I do believe Captain Al is going to be quite a regular host, I think.
Oh, that's very
Plane
exciting.
Safety,
yeah, absolutely.
Which is good.
Yeah, as long as he can fit us in, that's absolutely fine. Indeed. But yes, it's where we bring the show to a close. So thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Nev, as always. You're a star.
Thank you, Nev.
And we'll see everyone next week. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Woohoo!